I think the area of children's rights is extremely interesting, the whole area of human rights. And I think it's only now that we've begun to think more about what's been called the ladder of participation for children. And when you think of rights and babies, what do we mean there? I've written about rights for young children in nursery education and advocated that they're citizens. They're not waiting to be citizens, they're citizens of the environment they're in. They have democratic rights to influence what's going on. And I think what I said earlier about the agency of the child, the power to act, actually enshrines a lot of what we're talking about when we consider children's rights. We could name all of the rights, and I've picked out, for example, Article 32, and there's a challenge to go and look it up, which includes a right to understanding the outdoor environment, is one that I've used in my teaching because I think we can interpret our work through the rights of the child and consider if we're meeting them in what ways. But perhaps the one that means the most for me is the right to be heard on all matters which affect you. How do you do that with a baby? Well, we were talking about life books earlier. We were talking about building up who I am, what my identity is, feeling good about myself, valuing my own competence. These are reflections of children's rights. And they may be in situations, little ones, where nobody much is caring about their rights. They're very concerned about their own adult agendas. So as workers in this field, we need to be particularly careful that we're knowledgeable, that we have an understanding and have weighed up our prejudices and our values in relation to children's rights so that we know exactly where we stand. And if we're knowledgeable at our level about what rights mean, if we look back at our own histories about whether our rights were infringed at any time in our childhoods or adolescence, then I think we can understand better and take a perspective on these very young children that we're talking about today. Despite what's going on in the adult agendas, we have to maintain that consistency for small children, and all of us do our very best. And we're going to be able to do that with more confidence if we have a very clear view and understanding of children's rights to participate, of children's rights to be heard, of children's rights to play, of children's rights to survival, food and water and all of those things. And it's different, it's relative in our Western society compared to how it might be in other parts of the world. But nevertheless, in Scotland we still have many, many children living in poverty. 25% I think it's sitting at. And we need to think about that and think, are their rights being met? And what about the children who are transported everywhere? Are their rights being met? Do they get outside? So some of that is quite emotional. But it's also extremely important as professionals to be able to engage with our feelings and be objective about those needs that exist. And rights go beyond needs. Rights are where needs and ethics meet, I think. So in the end, maybe what we're talking about is ethical approaches to early childhood and to babies and young children under 3.